Welcome back. Let's jump right into this explainer. It is absolutely wild to think about, but the massive, clunky mechanics of classic 1970s cinema, yeah, they've completely shrunk down to fit right inside your pocket. Seriously, every time you pull out your phone, you're literally holding a Hollywood production studio from a few decades ago. So let's break down the insane tech you're carrying around every single day.
Just look at this contrast. Back in 1970, if you wanted to shoot a movie, you were lugging around like 200 kilos of heavy gear. You needed a multi-million-dollar budget and a literal chemical lab just to develop the footage. Today, the whole shebang fits right in the palm of your hand. And, let's be real, you probably mostly use it to film your cat doing something weird. But here's the secret. Even though the gear looks totally different, the core idea of capturing light and sound, it hasn't changed a bit. You're still using tech to record and manipulate images, just like the legendary directors did back in the 70s.
Okay, Section 1. Cameras, lenses, and speed. Let's look under the hood of your phone and see what actually happens when you hit that red record button. Back in the day, the heart of a camera was a heavy reel of celluloid film getting physically dragged through all these mechanical gears. Well, fast forward to today, and your phone relies on a sensor instead. It's this tiny, super powerful microchip that works almost like magic. It basically catches incoming light and instantly translates it into digital data. So that massive, grinding movie camera, it's been completely replaced by a tiny little square of silicon.
But the most important part of any camera is still the lens, that little glass window where the light actually enters. Now, when you're in your camera app and you tap between the 1x normal view, the 3x telephoto, or that super wide 0.5x angle, you're doing the exact same job as a 1970s camera operator, except they had to physically unscrew and swap out these heavy, massive glass lenses. The 1x sees pretty much what your eyes see. Telephoto brings faraway stuff right up close, and the wide angle grabs a huge field of view. And you get to do all of that with just a quick tap.
Now, here is a massive trap a lot of new creators fall into, so pay attention. You really want to avoid digital zoom whenever you can. Why? Well, because digital zoom doesn't actually bring you closer, it just artificially crops the image and blows up the pixels, which frankly absolutely destroys your video quality. It looks super muddy. Optical zoom, though, that actually uses the real physical lenses built into your phone to bring your subject closer, keeping all that crisp detail. So always trust your optical lenses.
Another huge superpower sitting right in your pocket is speed. So classic cinema was, and actually still mostly is, shot at a strict 24 images per second. That's what gives movies that classic film look. But your phone? It's usually shooting at 30 or 60 frames per second for that super smooth realism. And it can even jump up to an incredible 240 frames per second. What that does is stretch time into this buttery smooth slow motion by recording a massive amount of images in just 1 second and then playing them back normally. It's basically the high-tech grandchild of classic Hollywood speed tricks.
Moving on to Section 2, the digital film file. Modern digital formats have completely killed off the old physical film strip, so let's talk about where all that captured light actually goes. Just like filmmakers used to upgrade their physical film formats, jumping from tiny 8mm film all the way up to these massive, gorgeous 70mm strips just to get a clearer picture, today, you make the exact same choice, just digitally. You step up from standard HD to full HD all the way to 4K resolution. The goal is literally identical. You're just packing more pixels and detail into your file to make the image look as crisp and stunning as humanly possible.
But hey, here's where you got to be a little careful. If you try to shoot in the dark, your phone's sensor kind of panics. It artificially bumps up its ISO, which is just a fancy way of saying its sensitivity to light. And yeah, raising the ISO does make the image brighter, but it also introduces noise. You know that ugly buzzing digital grain that just completely ruins dark videos? Yeah, that's noise. Understanding how to feed your sensor enough real light is absolutely key to keeping your files looking clean.
And this brings us to your very first writing decision as a modern creator, picking the shape of your canvas. Classic cinema was always horizontal, right? It was designed for those big, wide theater screens. But today, if you're making content for TikTok or Reels, you're obviously shooting vertical. Choosing this right from the start forces you to ask, where is my audience actually going to watch this? It's a huge creative decision you're making before you even hit record.
All right, Section 3, your act is the lab. The amazing news here is that we no longer need a dark, chemical-filled laboratory to bring our masterpieces to life.
Today, your favorite app is the lab. Whether you're firing up CapCut, DaVinci Resolve, or just using a platform's built-in editor, you literally have an entire post-production house right in your hand.
You can effortlessly cut your footage, shuffle your clips around, dial in the perfect color correction, and slap on some dynamic titles. And honestly, the best part? Once you export that master file, it can be copied infinitely. Every single playback on every phone across the globe is a flawless, exact clone of your original work.
Which brings us to Section 4. Sound matters above all. Listen up, because we're about to hit the single most important rule in this entire explainer. If you take away just one thing today, I want you to burn this golden rule right into your brain. Sound matters as much as, or even more than, the image. Back in the celluloid days, sound was literally photographed onto a tiny band right next to the picture. Today, your digital file holds separate audio tracks, which gives you massive control. You can strip out annoying background noise, drop in a trending track, or record a crystal clear voiceover. Actually, on platforms like TikTok, the audio track can even detach and go completely viral on its own.
And here is exactly why sound is king. A video with just an okay average-looking image, but incredible, crisp sound, that's perfectly watchable. People will totally stick around. But a gorgeous 4K cinematic masterpiece with terrible, echoing, windy audio, unwatchable. People will scroll right past it in 2 seconds. Which means your very first upgrade as a creator shouldn't be dropping hundreds of dollars on a fancy new camera. It absolutely must be a decent microphone. Trust me on this one.
Finally, Section 5. Screens, platforms, and algorithms. Getting your video in front of eyeballs today is a whole new ballgame. Back in the day, a theater owner basically picked one movie and used a massive projector to show it to a whole room full of people. But today, every single viewer is carrying their own personal projector in their pocket. But there's a catch. Sitting right between your video and their screen is the platform. YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, they compress your file, they adapt it to the screen, and most importantly, they use an algorithm to serve up videos on a viewer-by-viewer basis. That means you're basically creating for two totally distinct audiences now. You got to entertain the real human beings, but you also have to please the algorithm.
Now check out this side-by-side comparison. It perfectly wraps up our whole journey. Heavy celluloid cameras, interchangeable lenses, and chemical labs, replaced by your phone's sensor, built-in lenses, and editing apps. The 35mm film and physical projectors, those are now digital 4K files, screens, platforms, and algorithms. It just proves that while the bulky gear has totally transformed, the underlying language of video is exactly the same. What worked for a 1970s blockbuster is exactly what works for a viral TikTok today.
So you finally understand the incredible power of the gear sitting right there in your pocket. The lab, the lenses, the sound studio, it is all yours. But hey, just having a pen doesn't mean you know how to write a best-selling novel, right? So are you ready to learn how to actually write with this cinematic language using specific shots, camera angles, and lighting? Make sure to join us for Episode 3, where we'll turn everything you've learned today into pure magic. See you there!